Hi, Miss Bookmates. Welcome back. Go ahead and grab a warm drink, a blanket, and let's cozy into these true hospital creepy stories. And I hope you enjoy. So, hospitals are usually where life begins and life ends. They are full of long, quiet hallways, night shifts, and high emotions. And it's no surprise that some of the most weirdest, most unexplained events happened right behind medical closed doors. Tonight, I got 4 real documented mysterious hospital stories that I found on the internet. And these are backed behind official police reports, medical logs from doctors and nurses. So, deep breath. Make sure you're cozy, your doors and windows locked, and let's jump right in. So the first story is called The Case of Gloria Ramirez. I hope I'm pronouncing that. No disrespect. Our first story takes us to Riverside, California on the night of February 1994. At 8:15 p.m., an ambulance rushed 31-year-old Gloria into the emergency room at the Riverside General Hospital. She was suffering from severe nausea, rapid heart rate, and confusion. The ER team quickly sprung into action. Doctors and nurses gathered around her bed to stabilize her, administering sedatives and attempting to draw blood. That's when things took a turn that medical science couldn't fully explain. The nurse drew a syringe of Gloria's blood. Several people in the room noticed an odd, ammonia-like chemical smell coming from the tube. Another nurse noticed a strange pale crystalline flakes floating in the blood sample. Yeah, that sounds like she'd been poisoned or something, or maybe radioactive. Does it make sense? Maybe. I don't know. Let's get back into the moments after that. A second medical resident began to feel lightheaded, stepped out of the room, and collapsed at the nursing station. A third staff member, a respiratory therapist, passed out right next to the bed. Oh, okay. After seeing them get lightheaded, me would have been like, yeah, I need to get out. But then again, that's probably too late. That's probably way too late. Panic spread through the hospital. The ER was ordered to be completely evacuated. No, it should have been shut down and the staff evacuated to another section or to a different room or something like that. Staff members were wheeling patients out into the parking lot on gurneys. A total of 23 medical staff members fell ill and 5 had to be hospitalized. One doctor ended up in an intensive care for weeks with severe breathing problems and joint necrosis, meaning his limbs were falling off. So this might be radioactive for real. I was joking around, but no, this seemed for real. Gloria Ramirez passed away shortly after from heart failure. God rest her soul. And to her family, I hope they got through it. The entire team of government, scientists, in hazmat suits spun investigating the ER, but no industrial toxins, pesticides, or nerve agents were ever found. You think it was maybe warfare kind of chemicals? Like the type of chemicals the government have to silently kill off people? You think she got a hold of that or something? Or somebody tried to kill her? That most likely was the case, but I don't know. That's weird. Official reports suggest a complex chemical reaction from a home remedy that she was taking. What medicine could be that strong where it creates something like that? But to this day, doctors who were in that room insist that something truly anomalous happened that night. So something truly weird happened. Yeah, no duh. Like, I wonder what could she have mixed up at home or got online. Well, let me not say that because there's so much stuff online that people get a hold of that they're not supposed to have. So I guess it's not weird. But I wonder what could she have gotten hold of that could do this. But it could be radiation because I remember it was another story with a boy that was making a nuclear bomb or something in his garage and he was like radioactive or something like that. So there's no telling what she got a hold of. People do weird stuff all the time. So let's go to story number 2. And this one is called The Mysterious Shadow in Room 217 Monitor. So the next story comes from a major regional hospital in the Midwestern United States, documented in the official security audit in 2008. In intensive care units, modern patient rooms are constantly being monitored, not just by heart rates and oxygen levels, but by closed-circuit temperature cameras, so nurses at the central station can monitor high-risk patients 24/7. So is that like night vision cameras or just high-quality HD cameras? Like, what kind of cameras are those? Anyways, one night around 3 a.m., a night shift ICU nurse noticed something strange on the video feed of room 217. The patient in a bed was an elderly man recovering from surgery, completely asleep and stable. Beside his bed, the camera feed showed a dark, distinct shape standing near the IV pole. Now that's something. At first, the nurse assumed it was another staff member checking the monitor, but as she watched the screen, she realized the shape wasn't moving like a human. You know, when I first saw something like that, I probably would like, it's something dark and mysterious. That's not a nurse. It's somebody in the room that's not supposed to be there. That would have been my first thought. Okay, hovering completely still right over the sleeping patient. She called over a second nurse who saw the exact same thing on the monitor screen, so she's not being crazy. She actually see this. Is this being recorded? Thinking someone had walked into the room without permission. Okay, so she was thinking that. Both nurses walked down to the hall and into room 217 and opened up the door. The room was quiet. The patient was fast asleep and no one was standing by the bed. And I would say maybe the person walked out before they can get there, but if you've ever been in a hallway at the hospital, it's one straight shot, or sometimes it'd be a curve too, but I'm thinking that it's one straight shot, so they probably would have seen if somebody walked out. And that makes it even more creepier. When they walked back to the central nursing station and looked at the video monitor on the screen, the dark shape was still standing right next to the bed. The nurses rewind this. Okay, so this is being recorded. The nurses rewind the security footage to see when the shape entered the room. The recording showed that the dark outline simply mineralized out of nowhere at 2:45 a.m. Do you think that could be like an angel or something like that? Or maybe the soul standing above the patient? Standing over the bed for 40 minutes and then dissolved at 3:35 a.m. You know, they say 12 to 3 o'clock is the paranormal and the wishing hours. So the patient made a full recovery, but the security footage, which showed no camera glitches or electrical faults, remained an unexplained mystery among the hospital staff. So what do you guys think about that? Like, do you think, I know it's paranormal, but do you believe that the soul can come out the body and stand over the body? Do you think he had like a instant like that, or his angel was watching him or something like that? But let's move into story number 3. And this is called The Unclaimed Phone Calls from Room 412. So our third story takes place at a psychiatric hospital in upstate New York during the winter of 1999. Hospital runs on strict landline switchboard systems. Every room has its own designated extension number, and incoming or outgoing calls are automatically logged by a central computer system. They had stuff like that in 1999? Maybe it wasn't just out to the public. Usually technology advanced faster in like hospital, the government, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. On a freezing December night, the main operator of the hospital switchboards received an internal call from the extension 412, a private room on the 4th floor. When the operator answered, there was no voice on the line, just a loud, heavy static followed by a faint clicking sound, like someone repeatedly tapped a plastic pen on a receiver. The line disconnected after 10 seconds. The operator flagged it as a missed dial and went back to work. See, I don't do creepy stuff like that. That'll make me stop answering phones for the rest of the night. Even like during an emergency, I would stop answering phone for like the rest of the night. Cause like I do that like with spam calls and weird phone numbers that I don't know. I do not answer the phone. You will not get me. 10 minutes later, the extension 412 called again. This time, the operator stayed on the line for nearly a minute, listening to the exact same rhythmic tapping and heavy static. Annoyed, the operator called the floor supervisor to report a malfunctioning phone or a patient playing with the receiver. The fourth floor supervisor walked down the quiet hallway to check room 412. I bet no one's in there. When she opened the door, the room was pitch black, cold, and completely empty. Room 412 had been undergoing renovations for 3 weeks, and all the furniture had been stripped, disconnected from the walls, jacked 5 days earlier. The supervisor was standing inside the empty, unlit room looking at the bare wall jack. Oh, meaning there's no phone there. If it's a bare wall jack, doesn't it mean that there's no phone there? It's just the hole where a phone can be connected? Her walkie-talkie clicked on. It was the main switchboard operator downstairs. Hey, 412 is calling again right now. To this day, hospital IT technicians who inspected the wiring could not find any cross connections, short circuits, or digital loop errors that could explain how an unplugged line in the empty room was repeatedly dialed on switch. An unplugged line. So there was a phone there, but it wasn't plugged into the landline. That's even worse. Let's move on to story 4. The patient who woke up in 1910. The last story is a famous medical anomaly documented in a neurology records from a hospital in London. So we all the way across the country, across the world country. In 1952, a 40-year-old man named Thomas Evans was brought into the emergency room after collapsing at a train station. Doctors had determined he had suffered a mild stroke, which caused him to fall unconscious for roughly 12 hours. So he's in a coma. When Thomas finally woke up the next morning, so he's not in a coma. When Thomas finally woke up the next morning, he was completely coherent. He could speak clearly, knew his name, recognized basic object, and could read and write without issue. Except for one detail. Thomas was convinced that it was the year 1910. So he went back in time. Which I don't think is weird, because if he was not conscious for 12 years, he could have brain damage. And people go into comas or have heart attacks or whatever, and when they wake up they can speak whole different languages or know things that they shouldn't know, all types of things. So I'm not surprised. Doctors initially assumed that this was a standard retro amnesia. I think I pronounced it. And that his brain had simply erased the last 42 years of his life. But as the medical team questioned him, the case became genuinely bizarre. Thomas didn't just forget recent events. His brain possessed details and specific knowledge of local daily life, streets layout, public figures, and minor news stories from 1910 that have never been documented in modern textbooks. So he knows stuff that nobody knows. Like maybe like government information or something like that. That's weird. That's strange. When shown modern 1950s technology like a radio or television in the ward, he didn't display memory loss. He displayed genuinely terrifying culture shock, insisting those objects were impossible. So he really truly went back in time in his brain. Like he don't remember technology or nothing. Oh, I know they got to be terrifying. Cool, but terrifying. And even stranger, when doctors contacted his family, they revealed that Thomas had been born in 1910 and he was a baby that year. He had no logical way of having personal adult memories working as a clerk in London in 1910. What did I tell you about people going to comas or anything like that and waking up with memories that they don't know, and like memories of personal life they don't know? That's weird. Oh, that's so strange. Like maybe he woke up some type of reincarnation memories or something like that. It's just like when kids are born and then they get a little older, they can remember past lives that they had, like in these weird, like extreme detailed like memories. Like I wonder if he's having the same kind of situation, But let's get back into the story. neurologist, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, studied Thomas for months. His brain scan showed no signs of severe trauma or damage, and he never snapped back to 1952 until the day he died. His mind remained perfectly frozen in a time period that he had technically only lived through as an infant. That's so sad. But I don't know. They say he never went back to the time, so that means did he not learn anything? And he was only 42. He never caught back up with time. Oh, that got to be so sad. And I feel so bad for his family because 42 years is young still. Okay, so that was the end of these 4 true hospital stories. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you relaxed and was comfy while listening to these videos. So which of these 4 stories creeped you out the most? Let me know down in the comments and let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed these stories tonight, please give this video a huge thumb up, hit subscribe, and take care of yourself tonight. Good night, my spooky babes.